All right. Oh, I need my headphones. To help me lock in properly. Alright, so the question is, where the heck did we leave off? I think, unfortunately, it like really complicated things, which is really unfortunate. Currently spawning particle effects, and last thing I did was I was implementing a new combat sequence. And it doesn't work. Should work with triple stab. Yeah. Man, how do I fix that? I unfortunately think I pretty much have to do what I was talking about. Which is removing the shadow cast. Like, why do I have the shadow cast? Let's think about that for a second. Is there a reason for the shadows to cast? Like, where is this called? here. It's called once here. Lightcast is called done here. Lightcast is done at the end of Shadowcast. Hmm. I just have to consider like what's actually happening here before I start trying to deal with it, because I kind of understand the division here, but I don't agree with it. The the Shadowcast really should just be the Ray to the Sun. But I don't like that the Ray to the Sun is its own thing. Like, it should just be part of the, it should just, like, the sun should just count as a light source that we're casting to, pretty much. But fixing it isn't necessarily so simple. Nothing is simple when it has to do with the renderer. So what is this? L0. Area index. How does this go to 8? What is the idea here? Area index. Int 8. I think it's basically we're fetching the closest areas to where we are right now. I think. So we're fetching it from area index. Yeah. But I think this is actually incorrect. Kind of. Because what this... yeah, this should be irrelevant. This is not how it should be done. At all. I hate to say it, but this needs to be reworked to some degree, because what's happening is that Basically, the world is split into... How big should we make these? 40 times 40. The world is split into sections like this. And then if I put a light source like here, then this is light source 1. Then this gets... 1 gets listed there, and if I put another one, this is light source 2. Then 2 is listed here. And then what I'm doing is, if we're rendering this pixel, I'm actually checking, like, the surrounding areas. Like, I'm fetching these, and I'm then reading, like, which light sources exist there. But that's incorrect. That's not a good way to do it. The way it should be is that if I put a light source here, I have 1 here. Based on its radius, it should add itself to every area. So this should be 1, this 1, this 1, this 1, this 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, right? That's how it should work. And then here, as I check, like, this pixel here, I then have to check 1. Because 1 has added itself to here, it's within the range of this area. That's how it should work. So that needs to be changed. It does need to be changed for multiple reasons. But man, I don't want to. Because I don't know how long it's gonna take, dude. So let's see, where are we doing that? Light area. Update static light area buffer. This needs to be changed. I think I basically just have to rip it out and start working. It's the best. It's the fastest way to do it, even though it might take a long time to fix this. Let's see. Static light source list. Let's check references. Add to static light list here. The light source gets added there. Update static light buffer, area buffer. So here, we're fetching the light index. Actually, how do I do it? It's not so simple. Because you can't just add a list containing every light source. It's not that simple. Hello, Kibs, how's it going? Because basically you need to split world into areas, right? Into indexed areas to add light sources to each area. But the issue with that is, like, how do you do that? How do you do that? I think at the end of the day, you have to have a light source limit. It's that simple. But you can have a very large light source limit. Like, that's up to you. I could have like 128 lights if I wanted to. Because the way it has to work, I think, is that let's say we have 3 light sources. 3 light sources. Then in order for me to actually like add those light sources to any particular area, I have to flip a bit inside of an integer. And the only way to have that like represent the light source is to say that each bit is just a number. So if number 3 is flipped, equals light 3 exists in area, right? And what that means is that in order to have 64 lights, 64 light limit equals 2 integers per area, right? Because then if I have an integer, that means I can flip 32 different bits to represent 32 different lights. Because all of the lights need to be able to exist within the area. Oh shit, I'm just thinking how ass this is gonna be. Maybe it doesn't need to work like that, actually. But, I've googled this so many times. HLSL. Well, let's use ChatGPT. Does HLSL support any sort of jagged arrays? No. It is kind of doable. The way I'm doing it is actually pretty close to what I need to do. So, the way it needs to work is that and the way it is working is that each area like, let's say we have area 1, and that area will then contain a certain amount of lights. So we need to have a light source no, light area start index or something, or light area index start number. It's terrible. But basically, the first light area will always start at 0, and then it will contain a light area index count, and that will contain like a 4 to show that this index contains 4 lights, right? And the way it then works is that we access the light area index as a buffer, which is just an array. And then we can read like from 0 and then 4 numbers from 0. And then area 2 will have a light area index start number of 4. And then it'll also have a light area index count. Whatever that is, right? And that way, and this is how I am doing it. But that way I can have like any amount of lights in any area. It's just there will be a lot of repeated values here, which is fine. And it works like this right now, except that instead of it containing the light of like every light, like instead of it containing every light that reaches to that area, it only contains lights that exist within that area. And that's bad. But we'll fix that, or start fixing that in a sec, but I'll be right back. This basically has to be redesigned. And there needs to be a system that can calculate where it ends up. Right? Because basically, how do I do that? I basically I need an algorithm that can calculate this, right? And then tell which tiles fall within this area. How do I do that in the best way? I feel like I just do it manually. Like, let's say this is the center point there. I then have to calculate. We have a we have a radius, right? So we just take the radius and then we add that and subtract that from the position, and then we calculate which tile we end up in there. And then we do that for X and Y. And then we simply just iterate through all of them like this, and we just do a length check. More or less. So it's actually 3D, so it's actually got another angle like that as well. It really doesn't like this, does it? The light source list is an object. Data module.value.light size. So, okay. X min. So it's gonna be like... This is only for a circular light though, but basically x min equals static light source list dot I dot u dot position test dot position dot x minus light size or should we say this is vector 3 int light size equals new vector 3 int let's not do that. Let's say light size equals vector 3 int dot 0, and then here we say light size dot set, and then we're gonna set it to this 3 times. Set this is of course y and z. And then this is, let's call this position min equals oh no, wait, what am I setting? There's no reason to do that, but is there? Let's just do that. Fine, whatever. Position max. We do the same thing, but here it's plus. And then we have to do something like... We need a 4xyz here, right? Holy shit, I think. And we also need... We need the same thing, except this needs to be tiles. No, it's not tiles, it's area. And then we need to say something like pos min area equals pos min divided by what is it called? System... Why do I keep forgetting? Settings variables. Man, I need to change that to system something. Does that not exist there? So we have tile size. Okay, it's not here, which means it's in here. So it's light, like area size, light area size. Position max area. Do the same thing there. And that means then that we have a vector 3 int area count equals vector 3 int 0. Area count equals position max area minus position min area. And then we are going to say position min area dot z, and as long as z is less than area count dot z, something along those lines. But it's not that simple either. Actually, yeah, it kind of is. So here we do something like light area. Yeah, here's something I want to change. Right now, light area count array. Right now, the lights don't exist within an array. And that's definitely something I want. And I really want to get rid of the controller too. It should just all be in here. Basically, light area, blah, blah, blah. Here, we need to have a public list. No, not a list. It should be an array, but an array of what? It's like an array of lists. That sounds horrible. But maybe that could be kind of what we need. Let's think. Because I need to have... I want to be able to store the lights. On the C# side. That's basically what it would have to be, right? Like I have to have a 3D array of lists. That sounds so dumb. Can you even do that? Public list LOT object light source matrix. Something like that, right? And then new level. Here in new level, we have a size, and then we need to say that the light source matrix equals new list array. Does this even work? It does. Okay. But in that case, I want to go into settings variables, and I want to say we have tile sizes and stuff here. Public static vector 3int light area size. Static vector 3int light underscore light area size equals new vector 3int. And then how big is it? Is there any logic? So we can have this is the tile size 24. I think it's almost better if they're a bit bigger, but there's obviously gonna be one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's just go with 12. And this, then we're gonna say light area size is how many tiles is the amount of tiles is what's the what is light area size value is the amount of tiles that make up the light area. I think that makes sense. But it should be here. Get return light area size. This is what sucks, right? You don't want to do this. Let me check. Because I have it written down here, I think. Get length versus caching. Yeah, this is what sucks. So let's cache that. Here we have to do light source, matrix. XYZ dot equals new list. So basically, here, whenever we create a new map, we will be creating a list of, like, we'll be creating areas where the lights will be contained, right? Now, I just hope that that's not going to be a stupid solution, but I think that's how it has to be. Now, here's the thing here. State static light area buffer. This isn't exactly the right way to go about it either. I think we can continue here. I just need to change some other things as well. Yeah, it has to change a bit, because the way I was doing it here was like every time I moved a static light source, I had to recalculate the whole thing, which I still kind of have to do. But now that I've added the lights to the C# side, or the CPU side, I need to have a better... There needs to be an additional function that calculates where the light is. Like, because what we're gonna do here is we're simply going to kind of do this thing here. Man, why did it have to be complicated things right from the get-go? But it is this, right? Like, we have a light area index. So here, temp position X. This should be... We actually just need this to be X. Y. Z. That either. And then static area count array. Needs to be something like this. Light index. If light index is greater than 0 and light index is less than static light area count array. Yeah, it shouldn't be done here. So it should be done in like set position in the object. Set position here. And here it needs to say if data module value or has value and data module dot value dot light source type is greater than or equal to light mode dot static. Then we need to say this is where things get a little bit annoying, I think. This is where I need to do what I was really doing here. TBH. So the light needs to have a public list of lists. Light source lists. New list. Right, and what we need to do then is we need to say public void handle light handle light source, maybe. Right, and so what we need to do then is this for loop is unnecessary. This should just be position. Actually, it's position test, which is a stupid name. The question is, do I simply add every light source? Because what I could do is I could add the light source to every tile within its min-max. Or I could calculate how far it reaches and only add it to those, right? But realistically, that's going to skip just like a couple of tiles only. So granted, this is also in Z, so we might free up some. I think it'll be worth it, perhaps. The difference being that if I calculate this, then it's only a one-time calculation anyway, and it would mean that we don't have to render any pixel that tries to render within this area. We don't have to do any light casting there. Actually, it is important. Because it's not the tiles that we're calculating, it's an entire zone. So if we're not accurately calculating the zone, we might end up with an entire area that's like this big, where we have to now calculate this light for every pixel within this entire zone. So now we have to calculate it. How do we do that? We have to do something like vector 3 int area position equals new vector 3 int dot 0, and then we have to say area position dot set the x times settings variables dot light area size. Oh, we can just do this. Set x, y, z, and then area position times equals settings variables dot light area size. And then what we do is we need to get the length. So we're ending up with area position. Area position equals area position times settings variables light area size plus settings variables dot tile size. Because we need to get it back to no. all we need is... Actually, maybe... I feel like this is the wrong way to do it, but we'll see. Vector 3 int... distance equals... area position minus position test dot position. Math dot abs. Fuck me. Public static vector 3 int vec3 int abs vector 3 int No, we don't want to ref. Return new vector 3 int math.abs position.x math.abs position.y math.abs position.z. LOTF dot abs like that. Wow. Berrybot has actually added Discord spammers to ban lists. Very impressive. You can't actually report those to Twitch. Twitch say that there's no offense when they're obviously bots. which is annoying. Man, there's too much math going on. Right? Oh my god, my brain. Ugh. So now I have the distance. Well, okay. I know what I need to do, but I don't know exactly how. Okay, yeah, so we need to do this. I shouldn't be absing. This should be a vector 3 int dot normalize. Well, okay. I guess it has to be a vector 3. Let's call it direction. Vector 3 dot normalize. That gives us a direction. And then we have to say vector 3 int new position equals direction times, well, it needs to be position test dot position plus direction times light data module d module dot value dot light size. And then we say new position equals new position divided by setting variables dot file size int divided by settings variables dot light area size. Of course you can't. Oh my god. Why is Unity so stupid sometimes? Why would you do that? Like, why have they done that? It's like, it's so dumb. Oh, it's so tedious, man. You can't. Okay, so this is a vector 3. This is a vector 3. You can multiply them, but you can't divide them. And the entire reason that that's the case is because they just didn't do it. Like, it's like one line. They could have literally just copy pasted the multiplication implementation. It's literally one line. Operator. See here, operator multiplication, right? It's this big. All they had to do was just copy this and add a division operator. See, they actually have it, but you can only divide by an integer. So they added divide by integer, but you can't divide a vector 3 int by another vector 3 int. Oh. Why? It's probably some bullshit like, oh, but you don't know if the vector 3 the vector is a position, like it's supposed to be used as a position within the Unity system. So you don't know it's going to be 0. So let's not implement it for like safety reasons, in case like some retard just like divides something by position and then his game crashes randomly. So because of that, I have to write a fucking extra function just to divide this bullshit without it being annoying. Oh, I hate it so much. Vec3 division. Actually, I've already done it. Vec3 division to int. Vec3 int division. There, yeah. And it's this simple too. Like, if we're about to divide by 0, just set it to 0. Like, how hard is it? Alright. So I have to say LOTF dot vec3 division. Vec3 int division. That. And then we do it again. By that. It makes it so much uglier when you can't just use operators. It becomes hard to read what's happening. But basically we have a position and we are dividing it by the tile size. And then that creates a tile position, and then we divide the tile position by the light area size, which is set in like how many tiles each light area contains. And that way we get our new light area position. Right? And then this doesn't work. Oh my god. This only works the way I'm doing it now. This only works at the extreme. Oh man, how do I do this? I basically need a test, right? That does something like... Let's say I need to check this space up here. I need to use the size of the light. And I need to shoot it towards here. Using the direction to this area. And using the distance, or the size of the light, kind of. But it's actually kind of complicated and annoying. Because it's not that simple. There are a lot of things here that need to be taken into account. So, for example, I can't just shoot it towards this position, because then it's going to be aimed there, and that's incorrect. So basically, we need to target a position that is the same as the position within the area that we're in. So we need to take like this offset into account and then target that position over here. And same thing here. It needs to target like here, 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 whatever. But it's still not that simple because, for example, here, let's say I'm targeting over there. You can see I would be outside of the light range. So the way it needs to work is that I need to like find the position. I need to shoot a ray towards here. But the ray, it can't be the length of the size of the light. It has to be simply the length to the point, or the length of the light, whichever is shorter. And then once we get there, I have to, like, once I shoot a ray here, because this is because the target is further away than the distance or the length of the light, we then have to get the position based on the length of the light, which would be here or so. And then we recalculate that to get the tile position that we're in. And then we need to minimize it and put it like down here. And then, well, as long as the light can reach there at all, yeah, because here, for example, here this would count, like this would be a hit. Where here, if I shoot over here, like I have a target here, and then we use, because the target is further away than the light distance, we then use the light distance. And if the tile that we end up in, which is going to be like down here, then if that doesn't equal the target, then that's a miss. So that's what it needs to be. Oh my god. Vector 3 distance equals how do you get the distance? Magnitude, that's what it's called. Float distance. There, that's a magnitude. And that's where we need to new position plus direction dot value dot light size. So then here we need to say mathf dot min light size or dist. Right. And then here we're getting a new position, and then we say if new position equals vector 3 int index ivec equals new vector 3 int equals post min area and this doesn't really need to exist like that. This should be ivec.z ivec.z that's unnecessary, kind of. No, it's not. Well, that's unnecessary. This could just be ivec. And then if new position equals ivec, then we are going to say main controller dot light matrix dot add the light matrix ivec x ivec y ivec z dot add this. Yeah. Right. So handle light source. So what we need to do then here is we need to say light source lists dot add main controller dot light source matrix ivec.x ivec.y ivec.z, like that. But this is it's still kind of incorrect. Or maybe it doesn't matter. No, I don't think it matters. Because if I'm gonna use a buffer to represent it, then the order doesn't matter. But it still needs to have an index. Well, I think it's fine here. Now, I'm just thinking. Now there are static and there are dynamic light sources, right? So the reason there's this separation is that a dynamic light source requires way more work to calculate everything. Like, it's like every time a dynamic light source moves, everything needs to be recalculated. Therefore, light sources that are static, it's kind of the same there, but it's just that since we know which light sources are static, we don't need to, like, we can just segregate those so that we don't have to do unnecessary amounts of calculations whenever a dynamic light source updates. Dynamic light source is like a torch, something that moves around, a character that moves around or whatever. A static light source is just like a wall torch or a lamp or something. That's meant to not update. Um... Oh! So what I think we should do is basically we should say for I, and then we have light source lists dot count, and then we're gonna go through the light source lists, and we're gonna say light source lists I dot remove this, and then afterwards we're gonna say light source lists dot clear. So basically what I'm doing is it's this, right? Pink dot is the light source, and the yellow circle is its radius, right? So every area that's within its radius gets the light source added to it. And then inside of the light source, I have a list of lists, which then represents each area, basically, that we're added to. That way, whenever the light needs to change, I can just iterate through the lists where it exists, remove everything, re-add it. Because that's gonna be faster. Like, just doing that and just re-adding it, it's gonna be faster than recalculating and like checking, oh, should I, if we move 1 pixel, should I remove it from like this or not? I'm not sure. Because it's gonna have to do like measure and do shit. And it's gonna be the same calculation as just checking it again and just re-adding it. So that's the best way to do it, I think. But that's also why, like I said, that static lights and dynamic lights should be separate. But that being said, I do need to go back and fix this, because this needs to say static. Oh, let's rename this to static light source matrix. And then we make another one and call it dynamic light source matrix. We go here, we go to the static. Ugh. Light source matrix. Static light source matrix. There. And then we create another one called dynamic. And here we do both dynamic light source matrix and the static one. Something like that. And then here in object, handle light source. Light source, light source, light source. And then here we need an if data module, no, d module dot value dot light source type equals static. Then we do that. Else we do the same thing, but in the dynamic list. Dynamic light source matrix. Like that. I'll be right back. All right. All right. Is this done? Kind of think it might be. Like so? No. Okay, fair enough. Handle light sources. And we need to say if data module.value.light source type equals static. Light mode.static. Then we need to say main controller dot static update static light area buffer. Update static light buffer. I mean, both should be true, right? Here we can just do else, and then this is update dynamic light buffer. Update dynamic. This is a little confusing. Why is there no dynamic area buffer? There's no reason for it to not have that. Add a dynamic area buffer, question mark. Yeah. Fuck. Update static light area buffer. And now, most of this... I shouldn't need to do any calculations here at all. The calculations are done by the object when it moves. Then it adds itself and removes itself from lists. So updating the static light area buffer It should really just be this, basically. So, static light area count array. I think this is no longer needed. Basically, all I should have to do now is say... compute static light data array. Basically, for XYZ, we have to go through the static light area, static light source matrix. That's what we're iterating through here. IVEC equals new vector 3 int static light source matrix dot get length 0 1 2, and then here we have nothing. No. This isn't IVEC. This is static matrix length. And so we're gonna need a couple of things here. We're gonna need a int current index equals 0. Because here we're gonna need a for I. And this is gonna be static matrix, static light source matrix x y z I dot count, no, dot count. And then here we're gonna say static the set. Let's see, compute buffer dot set data unity. It does take a list, so we can set it with a list. What's the smallest value a buffer can take? HLSO value types. Don't know if it really matters, but there's something called a min16 uint. I don't know what minimum means. Minimum. On this website, it says that there is something called a minimum 16-bit unsigned integer. But what does minimum mean in this scenario? Minimum precision types. The compiler guarantees at least 16 bits of unsigned integer precision. The actual storage may be larger. No less than 16 bits, possibly more. I only need 16 bits of precision. Feel free to use higher precision if necessary, but don't go lower. Alright. Yeah. Let's use that. But how do I set that? Does Unity support that? Does Unity support using min 16 uint? On Metal, Vulkan, and GLES, it usually does not map to native 16-bit integers. Even if it compiles, you should assume it behaves like uint. Okay, so it's not really worth bothering with right now. Alright, whatever. We'll just use uints. So, where was I? Here. Static light area count array. This is where I feel like we should basically make a list of integers light index list. Static light index list equals new list int. Right, and then here static light index list dot add, and then here's where it's a little annoying, but basically we have a static light source list as well. And index of static light source matrix X, Y, Z. And I. Okay, so basically, whenever a light source is added, it needs to be added to the static light source list. And there it just exists without being changed unless a light is removed, right? And its position in that list is its index. That's like, it's light number 3, for example, for all intents and purposes. And then whenever we, like after we have placed the light, or when we move the light, we need to update its position within the static light source matrix, which is like a 3D grid of lists of lights. And then we need to go through that 3D matrix, and we need to check each light in there, in each grid section, and then we need to check that against the static light source list, and we need to fetch the light sources index from there, and then we add that to a static light index list. And then the static light index list will be like a long, well, like one long row of every light that exists. And each light will be repeated multiple times because they exist in different areas. But that's good. And then we also need to store. Here we have a current index. Here we need to say current index plus equals 1. So the current index yeah, and then we need a brain. Basically, we need a list of integers, and that is going to be static light area count list equals new list. Right? And static matrix length. The light area count list can actually, I think, be array. And that array should be a new int array that is static matrix length dot x times static matrix length dot y times static matrix length dot z for static light area count. I actually have one. It's called count array. Static light area count list. Like that already exists. No, it does now because I just named it that there. Dot length static light area count list I equals 0. Like that. My brain. Hello. Missed my brain being tired. But yes, I am right now what I'm doing is I am reworking how the light system works a little bit, which is needed for various reasons. Right now in the shader, the way it works is that I have two systems, one called Lightcast and one called Shadowcast. And the Shadowcast is really just checking, like shooting a ray to the sun to see if we need to generate a shadow. And then the light is casting rays towards each light source, right? But the way it works here right now is that the world is split into areas, right? But the light only exists within the area that its like pixel position exists within. And then the way it works is that like if I'm rendering this pixel over here, I have to like check the nearby areas to see if any of them contain lights and stuff. And it becomes really weird because it means that lights can only have a certain size, like a size that's the size of two areas, for example, because otherwise it breaks. So I'm reworking that so that each we're calculating all of the areas where the light falls, and then we are just assigning the index of the light to that area, so that each area that the light touches just contains the light's index, and then we can just check the light, and just 100 times simpler. And I'm just gonna remove. I'm gonna try removing the like one of these light, like the light or the shadow casting step, because they're really just one and the same. So in reality, I just have like two massive for loop code snippets, and they're fucking huge. So I'm gonna try removing one of them. So right now I'm just rewriting how I'm handling lights and areas and stuff. And yeah, so what I'm writing now is just like the data handling for the buffers. Because all of the lights need to be like the index of the lights for each area need to be put into a one-dimensional array set as a buffer, and then I need to have an index, or I need to have several indices that like, because I need a buffer that is the index of each area as well, and in that buffer we contain the amount of lights that exist within each area, and also its starting index, right? So that if we find out that we need to, like, the pixel we're rendering is area number 5, and then we just access area number 5, and area number 5 contains two values, which is a starting index and a count, right? And then that starting index is maybe like 55, and it has a count of 2. That means that we need to start checking the light source buffer at 55, and we need to check all 2 lights within there. And that's how we check lights. Or that's how we check if there's shadow. And on top of that, we also always need to check the sun. That's what we're doing. And also I'm trying to fix my sleep schedule, which isn't going super well. I went to bed at like 5 a.m. and I got up before 12. So that's like, it's still like 6 hours or something. So it's not too bad. Hello, brother Push Toy. How's it going? I need 9 or I can't function. I can't even function with 9. It doesn't matter. I mean, it helps. It helps. I'm going fine. How are you? Just dandy. Great. Just great. Fantastic. We do have a meeting in 15 minutes, so I do have to go really soon. But yeah, I did want to get started back on this again. However, I might not. But I'm gonna, like, I think Kibbs is probably here, so he's hearing, but I think I am going to shelf this for a while. Because we've had a website in the making for like half a year now. And I honestly don't have time to do everything I'm doing. So I think I'm going to shelve the game for a little bit. And we're just gonna work on the website and get that running. And then we just go back here, because I just don't want it hanging over me anymore. It's just like sitting there, switching between this and that is just kind of annoying. Because I have to like remember what I was doing, how I was doing it, and you know, it's just better if I just get it done and then it's done. Right. So, but I might stream that too. I just need to make sure that some things are like not in the files, because you know you have like all the like the master keys and shit like that in the local folder there. I don't really. Let's avoid streaming those. That's good. Making coffee, so it'll be a few. Yeah. But that's probably what we will be doing. I actually already leaked the keys. But I edited and removed this section from the video, and I hope it's gone. I'm gonna update them anyway, but they're like in some in some random video somewhere. The keys, I accidentally opened it for like 1 millisecond and it was just there. But it's not like the website isn't live or anything, so it doesn't really matter. Nobody knows anything about it. But I do need to update all of them anyway, just in case. But it's not that big of a deal right now. But I'm gonna stream that too. Might as well. Otherwise I won't be able to focus. Be interesting to see you web dev, that's a new one. It's a new one for me too. It's... The first thing I have to do tomorrow, if I do it tomorrow, I'm not sure we'll do it tomorrow, we'll see. The first thing I need to do is update Node.js. And I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to break literally everything. Because last time I updated, I don't know what it's called. There's like a very common package that people use for stuff. I don't know what it's called. But I updated that, and then it broke the entire thing. And I don't know why, I don't know how to fix it, because that's the issue, like with the JavaScript, it's just like, it just breaks, and then there's just an error, and it doesn't tell you anything. You basically have to have read every single change log for the thing that you're updating to know what is broken now. but yeah, like doing things with React and whatever, it's not fun because it's just bullshit. And it's like the maintaining of it that's the issue, because it's one package breaks and everything breaks, or you update one package and now none of the packages work or whatever. And I feel like reverting it is a pain in the ass. Like you basically have to delete it and refetch it from GitHub to fix it at all. It's terrible. But then again, I'm not very good at Git, but Git is super weird and hard to use, so. Horrible compared to C#. There's stuff everywhere and it's not even organized and everything has stupid names and there's 20 of them. Yeah, and it's all like, yeah. And on top of that, it's a different language, so you have to just know how it works, right? Like, you gotta figure it out. But honestly, ChatGPT is a lifesaver when it comes to that. Like, you can just ask how things work now. Like, it's so much better than Googling. You're like, what does this mean in Node.js, or how do you do this in React or whatever? And it's actually really good at telling you how things work. It's honestly a lifesaver. Because Googling web dev stuff is horrible, because you just end up with like infinity random things that's like tangentially related to what you're Googling, but not really, because there's like everyone is doing web dev and there's like 100,000 different ways to do it. And like 100,000 different packages and dependencies and bullshit. Like, it's horrible. Like, it's not like looking for solutions for C#, because that's like, yeah, this is how C# works. You Google it and you find like good sources. But for web dev, it's different. But yeah, I think I'm gonna head off now. It's about time for our meeting. But we'll see. We might do programming tomorrow. We might not. I might focus on writing tomorrow. I do need to get back to programming more often. But we won't rush it too much right after New Year's. But I'll see you when I see you. Until then, thanks for hanging. Have a good day. Bye-bye.